selfish, so I have to get it out while it's there. Yeah, no, definitely. When you look at Serena Williams, think about how many men were like, oh, she looks manly, particularly black men, like she looks manly, she's too muscular, this, that, third. As soon as she marries a white billionaire, oh, she don't like black people.
Thank you. Right there. Sorry.
I don't know how to say it. It's like sometimes like with like black girls, like or like women of color, when they refuse to date like other men of color, it's kind of like this whole idea like where like people kind of get like a little upset because it's kind of like society's already telling like some black men that they're not good enough in society, and they're receiving that like treatment from like other groups. So it's like if they receive that from like within their race, it's kind of like another bit of like oppression against like the black man kind of thing. So I feel like a lot of like women of color, it's kind of like people are more harsher on them when they choose to date outside their race rather than like within it.
Any of the guys want to say anything? Yes, yeah.
What you guys are not talking about? For the Serena Williams comment, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Because I've been saying that to my friends all this time. I say Serena is fine. Like, guys, we're going to lose her. But like, more seriously though, I feel like the whole problem with it is mostly there's a lot of like colorism and colonialism going on in there, like in that issue, because we kind of want people to be available for us, but as soon as they go from someone else, we feel kind of like, that's wrong, this is not good, they should stay. It's like, it's awkward to say it because you want that person, but at the same time you don't want them, like you want them to be available for you, but as soon as like they want to see someone else, and I think it's kind of like that in relationship as well, you kind of want someone, when they're like around you kind of like, play with it, but then as soon as like they go away, you're like, why are they doing that and why are they doing this? But that's just my opinion.
Okay, before we quickly have any other opinions, I'm just going to reread the question because I heard that some people didn't actually hear it. So, is there a double standard when it comes to interracial relationships and gender? That's the question. But yes, any other thoughts? Morgan?
Okay, so like I'm just thinking on the fly, tell me if this makes sense or not. So I feel like the main problem is how women of color feel about themselves. Cause like I'm from Vaughan, super white, yeah, super white. And ever since I was a kid, like I have been told that like I'm not pretty because I'm black. That's just been my experience. And because of that, I feel like a lot of women of color had that same experience and like we harbor within ourselves. So like when we see another man of color go out and date a white woman, like I feel like some women do get upset. Don't. But I feel it's because within ourselves, like we see that like we're not good enough because we've been told for so long that we're not. To see someone that we thought should be here for us, to be standing by us, to go without, like that makes us think like, oh shit, there must be something really wrong. And then let's say if a woman of color were to date a white man, there's always some like he has to have some ulterior motive, as if a woman of color isn't beautiful, smart, intelligent, independent on her own, just because she is who she is. Like there has to be something else to it, because like the way that, just the stereotypical way of how people fetishize women of color, like the ass, the tits, like everything like that has to be the reason why we're loved. And I feel like that kind of plays into that huge double standard.
Yeah. We're gonna take the hand back there and then we have one up here.
I think the first problem is with ourselves rather than hitting on someone else. We are not proud of our own color. That's the first thing that everyone should realize it. And everybody should be proud of whichever community or whichever color they come from. There's no fairness cream, that's going to change my color into his. Then the day I accept that fact, I'm more open to more people. And rather than thinking about it, he or she is from different race and everything, that won't come to mind. That's how you fix your problem.
Thank you. Right here.
From what I've heard so far, like I feel like the issue of colorism, because I'm from the UK, so the issue of colorism in the UK is it's a lot more blatant, like it's a lot more in your face, especially for black girls. With the issue of double standards, yes, I do feel like if a black girl is to date a white man, black men may not they may not really care, but if it's a black man with a white woman, I think because of the issue of colorism, it's just a lot easier to question like why he's really with her. Because you get black men who say, I don't date black women because they're too loud and they're too this and they're ugly, especially dark skinned girls, da 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 da. And I also feel with one reason why black women are kind of more pressed about the issues because for me personally it's the issue of culture. Like I wanted to be with a black man because he understands my culture, if that makes sense. I don't want to have to, not to say there's anything wrong with dating a white man, but I don't want to have to start explaining myself and explaining my experiences and why this is an issue to me and why little things in society get to me kind of thing. So I just feel like that's one difference I've noticed. But really it's because you've got white man, the white woman, also like kind of shitting on the black woman in society, and then you've got black men doing it to their women as well. So, yeah.
We'll have Kat and then Dante.
Yeah. Okay. I kind of heard something where it's like black men shitting on like black women as well, but we all like fail to understand that black women shit on black women as well. Like there's colorism in our, like we talk about colorism, like it's rooted in our families. We grow up in their culture, where they're from. It's rooted in our society. I guess it's probably just from like colonialism, but we tend to like forget that we all play a part. So like as much as you yourself is, like people are talking about their preferences and etc. and stuff like that. So just because you prefer a darker woman or you prefer a lighter woman and things like that, like it's because of things that you've been. It's hard for me to explain. Like it's kind of like the stuff that's been put on you throughout your whole life, and like the things that you've seen throughout your family and all that type of stuff. Like that's what's gonna portray. Like not just shitting. Like I just didn't like when she said we're shitting on black women, because there's a lot of us that love black women and that care about like more than just like their skin color and shit like that. It's cheesy and stuff. I had to say it.
Okay, we're gonna go to Don Paul. Kat and then, sorry, what's your name? Pardon? Amanda.
I think we're talking about the whole gender. Okay, so we have, I feel it kind of becomes a point where like both genders, if we're talking about like gender binaries, where like women will be like, oh like, well, not, actually I'm generalizing, sorry. In my instance where I would be like, as a black woman, I would say, oh, look at those black boys. They are not going for black girls, who I thought they should, like they would be going for. And then also like, then it starts the whole thing like, ends aren't shit, like. Okay, so in the circumstance where we say that a lot of times when we see, if we see black men that are dating outside the race, or vice versa, like there may be like kind of some like frustration about that, where it's like, oh, like why aren't they like dating for black kings, or why aren't they dating like melanin queens? But like I feel like in that, because like there starts to be like a rhetoric where like each side is kind of like whatever, like NSYNC shit, like you know, fill it out. I'm not gonna say it.
Brothers ain't.
Yeah,
Brothers
ain't shit. It starts being kind of like that, and then what Dante was saying, where it's like, oh, like they're not shitting, and then they feel like black women are also doing the same thing to them. It becomes kind of like a circle where you don't know like who did it first. It's like, but I went outside my race because you were doing this, and then they're like, oh, but that wasn't the case. And it just becomes like a long story of like, who the hell cares who did it first?
Yeah.
Just like understanding and being critical of the relationship that you're having. And then also, somebody made a point that I really forgot, so that sucks. And I feel like I'm going on a tangent, so I'll let the space for someone else.
Okay, before we take Amanda's comment, I'm just gonna remind us to be respectful of each other's opinions. I know a lot of people came in after I said this, but just make sure that you're talking from your own experience, you're using I statements. Yeah, okay, because I feel like this could get a little heated.
Yeah, I was gonna say one that people always tell me, at least at home, and it's usually men of color, which really pisses me off. Like, you're pretty for a dark-skinned girl. Like, what the fuck does that mean? And two, I was gonna say, my issue is with, like, women of color and women of men. Like, I find that men of color really get a bad rep. And I almost feel bad sometimes because I feel like people always... People focus on issues that women face a lot, and I find like, because I have a lot of friends who date white men, and it's because black men are trash, black men have nothing going for them, black men don't want to do this. I'm like, open your eyes.
I hear that shit, man.
Beautiful black men who have so much going for them, and if you would open your eyes to that and stop falling for like society stereotypes, you would find somebody if that's what you really wanted. Don't use society's excuses as your excuse. Oh yeah.
Any other thoughts? Andy, do you want to say something?
So for me, just to start off, like personally, like I'm gonna make that clear. Personally, I like all races. Like I'm fine with everything, right? So I think everyone, like God made us beautiful, all of us, right? But personally, like I see where people are coming from with their problems. Where like personally, my personal like experiences with friends where they judge race based off stereotypical characteristics. And that's where I feel like it was a problem when it's like, oh, I'm not gonna date black girls because this and that. Like, and then they see a white guy with a black girl, it's just like, whoa, man, that guy must be strong or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know what it is. Like I've heard that before. It's just like at the end of the day, like it's really like I'm okay with people's preferences, but I've never really put a race as a preference type of thing. So I'm more of a person like where like I can understand where everyone's coming from, but I just feel like it's really like who you're with is who you're with. What you like is what you like. Yeah. But just be well aware of like what's actually going on in the real life. You know what I mean? Like people are a lot like, well, it has nothing to do with me, so it's not affecting me. But at the end of the day, it kind of is, because it's not just your life. You're affecting other people around you. So just be mindful in what you're doing and what you say. Type of thing.
I see like we're going around the idea of colorism, and which is something that I refuse to approach, because for me colorism is nothing else than racism. And the way to explain that is we have to see what racism is, and racism is no more than white supremacy. So like the idea of colorism is like we have to look lighter to look closer to the white norm, to the white idea of perfection. So talking about colorism, we are refusing to see ourselves in the whole conversation of racism. We have to accept that us as black people, in many cases, embrace that really complex work of looking at each other instead of looking everywhere else. So that means that we have to accept that sometimes, like we, in many cases, are racist too. So that's what I refuse to call that colorism a sin. Like the whole point is racism. It's like we're trying to get to some point where the lighter skin is what is really like the benefit. It's like what is the goal for all of us. So yeah, I just wanna like see why colorism is so important for us. When we are talking about ourselves, we have to accept ourselves as racist in those points, like seeing